Good morning, everyone. You're very welcome to the Meet the Farmer webinar for Incredible Edibles. While we are waiting for everyone to join, I just have a few little pieces of information to give to you. First of all, my name is Amy, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. The second thing I would like to tell you is if you and your class, so any teachers out there, if you have not yet submitted your Incredible Edibles project, there is still time. So there are two options, one to submit online, and the second option is to send it into our office. So we are going to be accepting projects until this Friday, which is the 2nd of June. So anybody out there who hasn't yet submitted, don't worry, we are still accepting submissions until this Friday. Other thing I would like to say is if you enjoyed this webinar today, please make sure you check out our website, check out the program Farming Through the Seasons. If you haven't already joined or you haven't already registered yourself, register yourself there, and there'll be lots more webinars coming for the new term in September. Now I'm going to have a little look at our participants before I introduce you to our farmer for today. And I'll see if I can give anybody any shout outs. So any teachers, if you would like to write into the Q&A box, I'll be able to see who has joined us for today. Some people have already said hello, so thank you so much. Hello to Loretto Crumlin. Hello, everybody. We have St. Mary's Parish Primary School in Drogheda, so that is 6th class. Hello to 6th class. We have Kilmeady National School. We have Skull Diarmada in Castle Dermot. You guys submitted lots of excellent questions for Stephen, so thank you so much. We have Kinnaff National School in Swinford. I believe that's in County Mayo. I'm going there on my holidays in a few weeks' time. We have St. Francis's National School in Blackrock. Hi to everybody. We have Mercy Primary School in Birr, and that is 5th class, so hello to Mercy. We have Senior Infants and First Class from Croon National School. Hello to you both. And maybe one more shout out before I get started with the introduction for today. So we have 5th class in Blessington, #1 school in County Wicklow. Very good. You are all very, very welcome to this final webinar of the Incredible Edibles program. So I hope you've had an excellent term learning all about healthy eating, sowing and growing, and everything that you need to grow your own school garden. So today is all about meeting the farmer. So we have McCormack Family Farms, who are a salad leaf and herb business. They have their own farm in County Meath that has been operating growing salad leaves and herbs for 40 years. So long before lots of us were born, I'm sure. Stephen is going to be joining us today to show us around his farm and to answer any of your questions. So Stephen is the managing director, and some of the products that you may or may not be familiar with would be spinach, rocket, lamb's lettuce. So all of these leaves, they come in a bag, and you can find them in most major retailers. So that includes Lidl, Aldi, Tesco, any of those big shops. So next time you're in one of those stores, you can have a look and see if you can find any of Stephen's and McCormack Family Farms herbs and salad leaves in those bags. You can look for the McCormack's logo, which you can see this side to me. Super. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to invite Stephen to turn on his microphone and his camera, and he will give you an introduction to himself, his farm, and we will learn a little bit more about McCormack Family Farms. I'm just going to spotlight his video.
Hello everyone, Stephen McCormack here from McCormack Family Farms. Great to be on your show this morning for ourselves, to introduce ourselves to all of you young people who are at a stage in their lives that they are thinking about what they're eating every day and what actually is grown in this country, in Ireland. Ireland, through past generations, have been known so well for their vegetables and their potatoes. And nowadays we have converged to an awful lot of new different products that I'm sure a lot of you haven't even heard of. I myself, no different when I was your age, I was a spudman, cabbage potatoes, carrots, and my meat. Today, probably I eat more salads than I would vegetables or potatoes. Is that good or bad? No, of course. Vegetables are still very good for you and very, very important to be eaten. But as a company, as a farm, we decided, as we were vegetable growers from 1984, to diversify into something new. And a big part of our business was what we were seeing being imported into this country, and could we grow it? 1999 to 2000, when we made a change from growing vegetables to baby leaves. And just to explain baby leaves is very small plants that don't get to mature or cut early. And they're used for mixes, and they're used for products on their own, like spinach and rocket. But the real beauty about baby leaves is not just a handless sake for preparing for your lunch or for your dinner or for your salad or for your barbecue. They are more nutritious than a fully grown plant. The beauty about what we grow is, even though our biggest side of the business is food service, which means supplying wholesalers who supply restaurants and hotels, it's all about healthy eating. At this moment in time, we're 60% food service business and 40% retail. And our business has thrived over the last 15 years on these products, baby leaves, spinach, herbs, not just because of their taste and their colours, it's how good they are for you, and how a small amount every day is how nutritious it is for your body and for your living your life. The farm itself, at the moment, we grow over 600 acres, or to those who's using metric, 280 hectares a year. It sounds like a lot. It is a lot. We have 20 staff on the farm, which looks after all the cultivation, sowings, the irrigations, the harvesting. And then we have a factory as well at the base where we pack everything. And we have between 80 and 90 people working there. We have our own transport company where we have 4 Arctics, which delivers all our produce all over Ireland every day and every night. But to start off in the field I'm in today is a mixture of different crops. We have spinach. The purple one in the distance you see is called ruby chard. The one I'm standing right beside is called red chard. And over to our right here, we have some lettuce varieties. And so these varieties are picked probably in the very beginning for their colour and for taste. But today, everything that we grow is purely on nutritional value. Yes, it still tastes good, it still looks good, but it's all about healthy. Spinach, you probably know from talking to your parents or your parents feeding you, spinach is probably the biggest and the number one baby leaf that people eat more of because of its high concentration of iron, which is very good for you, and also vitamin D. But all these other leaves you see here as well, even though they might look to you just another colourful leaf, I'm specifically growing them for their benefits. The red chard, the ruby chard, they're also a spinach or a beet family. And they're different colours, obviously, but we all know, or we will find out in time, how good beet is for you. You'll have probably seen your dad, mum use chopped up beetroot. It's a very big product all over the world, purely not just fantastic taste, but how good it's for you. So these are varieties that we picked that we can guarantee that when we are packing and selling our product, it's not just looks good, tastes good, and shelf life is good, it's also very beneficial to you. Our main season starts around mid-March for first sowings. Last sowings is around the end of August. We actually have a quite short season in Ireland, maybe 6 to 7 months if we're lucky, because weather can be very bad in spring and weather can be very bad in autumn. So that makes things difficult for these crops because they're so small to the ground. It's very difficult to harvest, and we don't want to be sending inferior product that's not good enough. So we tend to finish around mid-October. In the background, you'll see the typical tractor that we use. I use farmers out there who know Massey Ferguson. as the saying goes, if it's not red, keep it in the shed. We use Massey Ferguson right across the farm, from 250 horsepower down to 80 horsepower. We have 13 tractors in total. That's involved every day in the farm. And lots of other different machinery, cultivars, plows, sprayers, irrigation reels, harvesting equipment. So there's an awful lot involved in what we do every day. Our brand is McCormack Family Farms, and that comes from the fact that we are a family. My mum and dad started the business at the very beginning in 1984. I was only 12 years of age at the time. I'm now 50. So I've been on the farm for a long time. My parents are now both retired, but I also have my two younger brothers working alongside me. So I'm still very much a family farm. And of course, I have my own kids coming along. My oldest is 18, Charlie, Jake is 16, and Abby is 12. They're all very enthusiastic to be on the farm and working. And hopefully in time when they're ready, they'll be running the farm and giving me a break from all the hard work and stress. On that note, as those of you that are from a farm background will know that farming is very, very stressful. It can be very hard, but it also can be very satisfying. That when you put the effort and grow your crops for good quality, and you get that good quality, and you hear people praising your product, that's the reason why we all do it. Of course, and to make money as well. That's also very important, that we all survive and be able to invest back in your business every year. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen all the times, because we're under a lot of pressure from retailers and wholesalers for cheaper prices, but cheaper prices gives you cheaper product, and not a good product, and not a good long-lasting shelf life product. Shelf life is another thing that's very important. I'm sure you talk to your mum and dad, they'll explain to you as well. They don't want to go into the supermarket and buy a bag of spinach, and then one day they're throwing it out. You need to be able to buy a bag of spinach or mixed leaves or rockers and have in your fridge for 4 or 5 days. If I'm not going to do my job properly, that's exactly what's going to happen. And that's not going to help my name. I'm going to have dissatisfied customers and lots of complaints. And that is something we do not want to have. So we invest very heavily in the farm. We make sure we do grow our crops as best of our ability we can. And we only provide the best quality product to our customers, who can offer to their customers with satisfaction that there's no complaints, and that when someone buys a pack of McCormack Family Farms, regardless of what it is, whether it's a herb or a baby leaf, they buy it again. That's the most important thing for us. Yeah, it's a difficult business. It's not an easy lifestyle, but I think for every farmer, whether you're a dairy man, a tillage man, a potato grower, a vegetable grower, we do it because we love it. We probably do it because we know nothing else. God knows what never happened to this farm. I'm not sure what I do. But it's a lifestyle we started and have been living all our lives, and don't tend to discontinue that too soon. Yeah, I love what I do. Very, very passionate what I do. Not everything always goes to plan. That can be, weather can go against you. As I'm sure a lot of you know, March and April this year was very, very wet. We had 180 millimetre rain in our region alone in 6 weeks. Normally the rainfall for Ireland is between 900 and 980 millimetre per year. So we like 25% of that rain in 6 weeks. That left things very difficult for us to manage. We couldn't plough, we couldn't till, we couldn't sow. So our season started very late. We are probably just about to start full production, and we're nearly into June, when we should have started that in the beginning of May. But the past, we can't be worried about that. We have to think forward and do our best we can. At this moment in time, we now have the opposite effect, where we're in a drought. And it's hard to believe 3 weeks ago, when we were splashing around in fields, we're now kicking dust around. And that's the biggest issue as a farmer you're up against, is weather. Now, to be fair to Ireland, yes, we can have plenty of rain, and yes, we can get good sunny weeks, this, that, and other. But we don't get really bad frosts. We don't get too often too heavy of snowfalls. We don't get 38 degrees of heat where nothing grows. So really, Ireland is a very good place to grow, but it has its challenges. Weather has changed in the past than what it has been in the past. We now seem to be getting longer spells of rain, then longer spells of dry weather, then back to rain again. where we would like a little bit of rain every week, maybe at night time, on a Saturday night or something like that, grand and handy. It wouldn't affect the week's work going forward. But that's not going to happen. We can't guarantee that by any means. At this moment, we're into our third week of dry weather. It's averaging around 20 degrees every day, which is still good. It's nice. And next week's looking the same. There's a possibility of the weather break the following weekend, but it's too far away to actually indicate where we're going to get rain or not. Now, in these situations, like ourselves, plants need water to survive. We need water to survive, so we have to irrigate. Unfortunately, this field doesn't have an irrigation system at the moment, so I can't actually show it to you. I'd love to show it to you because it's quite good to watch this sprinkler system working in 4 or 5 acres of fields. We have to water our plants. We don't water our plants, our plants don't grow. Plants don't grow, I can't harvest them, I can't sell them, and that's not good for the business. So water is very, very important. I'm not sure if anyone wants to throw any few questions to me now. Appreciate it.
I have lots of questions for you, Stephen.
Okay.
So I had asked for pupils and for teachers to submit some questions in advance. So I might deal with those questions first, and any of the boys and girls in the classroom, you can have a little think while you're listening to the other questions to see if you have any more questions to ask. So Stephen has definitely dealt with a lot of the questions that people had submitted already. So I'm going to specifically go to the ones that he didn't already address. My first one is from Kilcool Primary School. It's 3rd and 4th class, and they have 2 questions for you. So what is your favorite crop to grow, Stephen?
Ooh, like when I talk about baby leaves, that's a crop. Then we have some whole salad lettuce, which much bigger heads. Like that's another crop. Then we grow pak choi. That's another crop. Then we grow microgreens and pea shoots. That's another crop. Which one of them? There's not one of them. I love them all. They all give me challenges. And I think as a grower, I don't want bad challenges, but the more challenges that can thrown at me, the more it makes my brain think. And for me to work out how am I going to fix this or solve this problem. It's a hard question, believe it or not. I'm not sure which is my favorite. Do I actually have a favorite? I love them all. I suppose there's no easy crop, so I can't just pick an easy one and say that's the one I like because it's easy. They all have their own issues. They all have their own difficulties of growing. If you were to ask me which one do I love to eat the most, I would say pak choi. If any of you know what pak choi is, it's a kind of a bulbing Chinese plant that's you stir fry for your stir fries or something. I really love the taste of it. It's definitely probably one of my favorite to eat. Spinach I love. When it's cooked, if I was ever to make a sandwich, I would definitely use a mixed leaf or rocket because of the taste. So yeah, that'd be kind of it. But I don't have a particular favorite. But if taste-wise, I would have to go with pak choi. Unfortunately, I can't show it. Not in this field, but I'd love to show it to you. Oh, yeah.
That's okay. Maybe that can be a bit of homework for any of the pupils at home. If you're in the shops, your parents, see if you can find some pak choi with the McCormack Family Farms logo on it. So my next question is from St. Gabriel's in Ballyfermot, and this is 1st class. So they would like to know, what is the most important job on the farm that you have to do every day?
Very good question. All our crops takes 28 days to 40 days to grow, so it's quite a short period. In the beginning of the season or the end of most seasons, I'm already planning the following year. So all planning that goes into crops takes about 6 months before you even sow it. But the first thing we do is plough the soil, plough the land, turn it over from the year before, and then we cultivate it and till it. Then you have fertilization, and then we have bed tilling, which if you look straight down this way, you can see everything is in a bed. So we then have a machine that forms that bed, and then our sower comes along afterwards and sows. So that's the general rule of thumb.
Sorry, Mark, the signal didn't like when you turned there. You went red. I think we might have lost you.
You there now, okay?
Yeah, we're all good.
Yeah. So after the final sown, the crop is grown, then our harvesting equipment comes in, which is the machine on tracks, which cuts the product and it goes up into conveyors and falls into crates, which then is moved to the trailer. The next process then is from the trailer is full, which could be between 2.5 ton of product, is brought to our factory where it is QC'd and checked and weighed, and then it has to be cooled down. The product has to be between 3 and 4 degrees before we pack it. That's probably one of the most important things after you grow your crop, because if the product is hot, been packed, when I say hot, say warm, 8 to 10 degrees, the shelf life will be no good and it'll go rotten very, very quickly. So we have to make sure that our cooling systems cools the product. Normally that takes about 24 hours. And then the next morning, when that temperature is right at 3 or 4 degrees, we'll pack it and distribute to all our customers all around the country.
That actually leads us on to a lovely question from a pupil called Harry from Skull Diarmida. He would like to know, what is your best selling product?
Good question. Spinach is definitely the biggest selling product. It's the most common one that people use for both salads and cooking. We would grow and pack and sell about 30 ton a week through all our customers. Mixed leaf will be the next one. It's about 10 ton per week. And then we have rocket, about 6-7 ton per week. And then we've all the smaller different lines that would be, 500 or 1,000 kilos. And then, of course, we have our herb section where we grow flat parsley, coriander, curly parsley, rosemary, thyme. They're also very, very big and very niche in the market as well. People buy it for its taste and smell. Basil is probably our biggest seller of about 3.5 ton per week. The rest is less. Unfortunately, Ireland doesn't really have the best growing conditions for basil. Basil is a Mediterranean plant, so it likes heat, it likes dry weather. We do grow it in the glasshouse, about 2 hectares of it every summer, but for a very short period of about 3 months. So I'd say spinach is, for the baby leaf, is the biggest herb is definitely basil, and the rest then are all a good gap between. But spinach, yes, 30 ton, and as a herb, basil at 3.5 ton per week.
Super, thank you, Stephen. The next question, I know you've somewhat answered this, but maybe we'll just clarify for any people who are still wondering. So Sculwara in Meath in County Clare, so they are wondering, if you don't wash your leaves, how come they're not dirty?
Good question. Firstly, we don't wash our leaves, and that's our ethos. That's what we've done since the very beginning. The reason we don't wash our leaves, we want our leaves to be as natural as possible. We don't want any contamination through wash systems because they have to use a chemical called chlorine. If you're not sure what chlorine is, if you're ever in a swimming pool, you take a mouthful of water, there's chlorine in that, you get that taste from it. It's the same thing, not as intense as a swimming pool, but it is washed in chlorine to knock bits of dirt off and be able to offer a product ready to eat. That's the reason. We don't wash because we want to give people as natural a product as we possibly can. By not washing, you also give a far better quality product with much better shelf life. And that's good for everybody. That's good for me. That's good for the people who buy it. It's good for my customers. Washed, to be fair, salads is still the biggest part of the salad sales in Ireland because it's convenience. We do recommend you wash our product, but just under the sink, just with your normal water tap, just to give a little rinse, gets a bit of dust to leave, that kind of thing. But I don't wash on the factory because I will have to add chlorine to it, and I don't want to add chlorine to my product. I want my customers to eat the product as natural as they possibly can, as if they cut it from their own garden. And that is the reason why we do not wash. I do be under pressure to wash, but I won't give in to retailers, because if I go down the route of washing, they'll only want it cheaper than where they're already getting it. And that's no good to the person who's already selling it to them. That's no good to the grower that supplies them, and it just deflates the price even more. So we're sticking to what we know best and what we do best, and that is selling an unwashed product. Just because it says unwashed doesn't mean that the leaves are dirty. The leaves are perfectly clean. I normally, when I bring a bag of spinach home or a bag of mixed leaf home, I'll take it out of the pack and put straight onto the sandwich. But I do recommend, because of maybe dust in this kind of weather or in wet weather, there could be a little piece of clay on that could be stuck to the leaf. Is rinse it under your tap and just give it a little dry down with a bit of tea towel or paper, and it's good to go.
Super. Thank you so much, Stephen. I'm going to have a little look at the Q&A box to see who would like. Oh, this is actually a nice question. So there is a group of students who would like to know, do you rotate your crops or do you have crop rotations in place?
Absolutely, yeah, we have to. The biggest part of any farmer is soils in his land. If you abuse your land, your land will abuse you. So rotation is very, very important. This field here has, as I say, spinach and red chard and ruby chard. They're all beets. Next crop in here will be maybe a brassica, which is kind of a cabbage type baby leaf, or a herb. So every field will definitely get 2 rotations of cropping per year. But at the end of the season, as the fields finish up after harvesting, we put in cover crops. Now, cover crops are like grasses, vetches, a few different things we put in for very good reasons. I'm a 100% believer in cover cropping. No field or no soil should have nothing in it. If you leave your soil open with nothing growing, there's one thing that's definitely going to grow, and that's a weed. That's what you're going to have. You're going to have weeds. If weeds grow and they seed, then the seed becomes more weeds. So how do we solve that? Obviously, when we're cropping during the season, we have our crops in the ground, so it prevents some weeds. Some weeds will come, but the majority of weeds will keep them at bay because the baby leaves are faster growing. So it covers the ground quickly, so the weed doesn't get the germination or get to establish itself. Cover cropping does the very same thing. If sowed in time and around mid-August to mid-September, that's the period you need a cover cropping in if you can. As it's grown, it's also covering the soil areas, so it's not allowing weeds to grow and to mature. And the idea is to stop weeds getting to a mature stage where the seedlings it produces blows away. If they blow away, they become another weed. So you're stopping that from happening. The other good thing about cover cropping is cover crops we put in will always have a very deep root, maybe to that. So as it's going down into the ground, it's allowing the water, heavy rain or possible snow that might come over. Your land is not getting saturated. It's constantly draining naturally. And the other beautiful thing about it is they also have to take up the nutrients in the soil to grow. But once you come to springtime and you chop all these covers back up into your soil, you're putting back in green manure. So you're actually increasing your P and K, which is potassium and phosphorus. Some may know what that is. That's what we need to grow our products back into the soil organically. It's so beneficial. It is another huge cost to the farm, but it's so well worth it. But if we do these things right, our land will be as good as the day we first plowed it. And it will be for years to come and generations to come. But that's my job as a grower to make sure I do that. If I abuse my farm, I abuse my land, it will abuse me back. And I'll be scratching my head, why is my crops not growing? It's because I wasn't looking after my land properly. Simple as that.
A very good point, Stephen. I'd just like to mention that question on crop rotation came from 4th class in Middleton Educate Together National School in County Cork. So thank you so much for that excellent question. Stephen, that is all we have time for today with our Meet the Farmer webinar. So we would like to say thank you so much for giving us your time and for showing us around your farm.
Thank you.
Thanks to everybody at, I was going to say at home. Some pupils are at home and some pupils are in class. Thank you for all of your excellent questions and for your participation.
Thank you. Thanks for everyone joining in. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Stephen. For all teachers out there, we will be adding this recording to our YouTube channel. So we will get an email alerting you to that in case you missed any of the beginning. So thanks again, and we will see you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.